Hi everyone, welcome to today's video on how to save money. Now you might be wondering why an engineering or a tech related channel might be doing a video on finances. Well, that's true, but actually what this channel is about mentoring and helping others. So I want to help people on sort of all aspects on life, drawing from my own personal experiences. So I'm going to be broadening the types of videos which I make to try and help a wider range of people. So before I really get into the how to save money part of it, I just want to give a little background on myself and why I'm a sort of credible person to listen to. So I've been asked before how I was able to buy my first house at the age I was, and that was 24 years old. The honest answer is I had help from my parents as they lent me money so that I could afford a sort of bigger property, as we agreed that a bigger property is a more worthwhile investment. The rate of return is going to be higher. This obviously helped me a lot and it fast tracked me onto the property ladder, as we kind of see renting as dead money. But note that I said that they lent me money, so I actually had to pay back the bank for the mortgage and I also had to pay back my parents at the same time. So before you start flaming me in the comments or calling me privileged or just turning this video off completely, just hear this next bit out. The sacrifice that I had to make was that I had to have two lodgers or two renters living with me in the same house. And that can be fine, but when you do own your own house, you kind of do want that space to be yours. So I did have to share the living areas with other people. And with the budget I had, I couldn't really afford to find anywhere with 3 dedicated bedrooms. So I was looking for a place where I had to convert a communal area into another bedroom, so that shrank the communal using space, so I had more people with a smaller shared area. So this was all fine, but having to do this with a low salary meant that I had to have 2 lodgers, and it did take me nearly just over 6 years before I was kind of financially stable enough by myself to not require lodgers to pay back both the bank and my parents. So this is the kind of sacrifice which I had to make. If I did want my own space, I could have not bought a house and just bought like a 1-bed flat. But we decided at the time that, like I mentioned earlier, that it's a better investment to try and go for a house rather than a flat. So I probably still could have done all of that by myself. It might have taken me a little bit longer, but I would have, been left with a smaller place, like a 1-bed flat, which I owned and I didn't have to share out. But we kind of saw this as a long-term investment, which actually in the end then did pay out really well. So before getting into how much to save and the methods of saving, I think it's really important that you understand why you need to save. There's no point in me telling that you need to save without you understanding why. Have you ever, been at work and someone just tells you to do something, but you don't really understand why you need to do it? You can't just do it and you don't really understand it, and whatever you learnt just doesn't really stick in because you didn't understand why you had to do it. I think this is the same sort of logic. If you don't understand why you need to save, yeah, you could probably do this for a couple of months, but then because you don't understand why you need to do it, you're just not going to stick with it. And saving is a very long-term thing. So I really think that you do need to understand why you need to save. So why save money? Well, like COVID has shown us, life is extremely unpredictable, and it's always a very good idea to have like a lump sum of money just for emergencies. Having a bit of money saved over for emergencies is really, really critical because you just don't know when something bad is going to happen. Like say your car breaks down, or you have a medical emergency, or if you've got a pet and you've got to pay big vet fees, or just anything bad which you just can't really predict. Having that money around is going to be really, really helpful. So if you don't have any savings like this for emergencies and you end up having to borrow money or spending money on your credit card, and you can find yourself in deep trouble really, really quickly. I think most people know the phrase, you got to spend money to make money, and I think this is kind of relevant. You are essentially spending a portion of your salary and putting it into savings, or you're investing it into stocks and shares, or you're saving money for a house. And I think putting money into a mechanism where you can generate money passively, I think that is the dream. Right, so how much money can you actually save? Well, I think the first thing you need to do is to go through your bank account or bank statements and work out what are your fixed and what are your variable expenses. Now, you can do this in a spreadsheet like Excel or Google Sheets, or you can just jot it down in a notebook. Anything that makes you look into your bank statement and actually write down what you're actually spending is going to help you. So what is a fixed expense? So that could be rent, mortgage, bills like water, electricity, gas. It could be car payments. Anything which is fixed long term, I would classify that as a fixed expense. So what could variable expenses be? Well, that could be sort of gym memberships, subscriptions to Netflix, food, takeout, leisure, buying things, shopping, mostly leisurely stuff. So if you can work out what you're spending every month, then you can work out how much you can actually save. So have you ever read on the news or heard on the news how these seemingly very, very rich people are in serious financial trouble, or they're claiming that they have no money or are struggling for money or in debt or declaring bankruptcy? Well, that's because their lifestyle doesn't reflect the money that they earn. Like, say for instance, your monthly income is only £1,500, but then you go and buy a car which needs monthly rentals of £1,000 a month. That is clearly going to be wrong because you haven't accounted for anything like food, day-to-day spending, or rent. So I just had a quick Google search, and apparently the average people save in the UK per month is about just over 8%, which I think is really, really low. And I think you should really be targeting sort of 30 to 40% of your salary into savings. So adjusting your lifestyle is going to be the key to determining how much you can actually save. So how do you adjust your lifestyle without compromising everything that's fun? Well, this is where self-control is really going to come into play. Say for instance, you're in a habit of buying a Starbucks every day, 7 days a week. Now, a daily spending of £3 for a Starbucks might not seem very much, but it really does add up. So obviously that's £21 if you bought it every day. So to make a sort of sacrifice or a compromise, so maybe the sacrifice is, instead of having it 7 times a week, you have it once a week. And that way you cut down your spending on coffee at Starbucks from £21 a week to £3 a week. And that really adds up over the year. And it's these little adjustments which you can make, which can really determine how much money you can save. I'm not really a huge fan of subscription-based services because I think that they can get out of hand really, really quickly. It's really tempting to sign up to something which is like, oh, it's only £5 a month, it's only £3 a month. But if you've got like 20 of these subscriptions, £3, £5, £10 a month, it just stacks up, and all of a sudden you're left paying, £200, £300 for, a lot of subscriptions. This is why I don't really like buying applications or software on subscription. I'd rather just pay a lump sum and be done with it, because I've saved that amount of money and I know it's going to be that much, and I just spend it and that's done. I don't have to worry about monthly fees or anything like that. I think an easy way of cutting down your variable expenses would be on food. To try and work out like a fixed monthly or weekly budget on essential groceries and limit the amount of times that you eat out or get a takeaway. The takeaway and the going out eating for food, that can be a massive sinkhole for where your money goes. And obviously it is really nice to go out, or if you're really lazy, you really don't fancy cooking and you just order in a takeout, it is really, really tempting. But if you do it too often, like, don't get me wrong, I do it, but if you do it too often, you'll find that the money just goes and you've just got nothing left to put into savings. Have you ever felt really happy from winning just £1 from a scratch card, but you never get that same feeling when you save £1 or put £1 into your savings account? To me, that's the same thing, as a penny saved is a penny earned, in my opinion. I think some people view saving money as a bit of a chore, and that's why they kind of don't do it. But if you view saving as the same as winning money, I think you'll be able to reach your financial goals a lot quicker. Increasing your savings is going to take a lot of sacrifices and compromises, but don't let that put you off. What you need to do is to work out what you can and cannot live with, and then make these small little adjustments every month to try and boost your savings. So how much do you need to save? Well, I'd probably set a target between sort of 30 and 40%. Like, don't worry if you can't hit that straight away, but if you can set yourself a goal and work towards it, that's going to be a really, really great start. I want to break it down into two categories: long-term savings and short-term savings. So what I'd classify as long-term savings is kind of investments, so saving for a house or putting money away into stocks and shares. I've only actually just recently started putting money into stocks and shares or funds, and it's something I wish I really did a lot earlier. But I've started because I've watched a lot of videos, I've done a lot of research, and the long-term gains is amazing. I know it's risky and there's risk involved with anything when you put money into investments. Like putting money into property is a risk that the housing market could crash. But if you look through the past like 30 or 40 years, the property market has always increased over time. There are obviously going to be dips in certain years, but overall it's going to increase. And that's going to be the same for when you invest in stocks and shares or funds. So I classify short-term savings as saving for emergencies, or saving for like a little holiday, saving for a car, or maybe you want a new phone, little savings for those kind of purchases. For me, I put about 50% into long-term and 50% into short-term, but that's just me. It will vary for different people. I know that I have some short-term things which I need to save for, so I'm not going to be putting as much into my long-term savings, because the long-term savings, I don't want to be taking money from that. I want that, I really don't want to be touching that until 10, 20 years later. So I'm going to keep those separate and just save it in short-term savings. Currently, savings accounts are pretty much worthless. The interest you're getting is basically next to nothing. But for short-term savings, I guess it's probably okay to put it in that for now, as you can access it, quite freely. For long-term savings, I really recommend, investing in sort of funds or stocks and shares, or saving for a property. I think the worst thing you can do is probably not do anything with your cash and just leave it in your current account where no interest is being accrued. As inflation increases, the value of your cash actually sat in your current account decreases, as it's just not gaining any interest. Anyways, I want to wrap this up. Hopefully you found this useful. I kind of wish that I had these kind of videos, or I was doing this kind of research maybe 10 years ago, but it's never too late to start saving. I do want to make more videos that help people in kind of all aspects of their life. So please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.